Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News. I'm your host, Ellie, and this is the weather and lifestyle news show, the fun show. We don't do politics here. We do animals and um, things that's happening around the world that isn't hardcore news. Tell your friends about us and subscribe. Um, wow, earthquakes, Yellowstone, 400, 300 of them. I seen 500 earlier. They lowered it to 400, 300. I'm thinking I'm going to stick with 500. And then we have Ari with the news with much needed rain in the southern part of the states where the drought has been. I do have to um, uh, yeah, Ellie's trying to get everything set up here still. I've been busy today. Um, and we had 43 earthquakes, even one up in Iceland that I was waiting on. So we'll get into that and we'll get into Mount St. Helens rumbling. Verizon today is down. So if you're having problems with Verizon and the West Coast, they say it's now up. I couldn't get a hold of William today. I kept trying. It says it wouldn't go through. So I run it through services down in Washington State, and they said Verizon was down. So if you're Washington, Oregon, and uh, up around there in the northern West Coast, you could be having issues with your phone. Um, also, a bear. Boy, a bear was in a cage for 20 years. How many times have we heard about this, Karen? Susan, I don't know if Susan's in. Is Susan over her flu thing? We have to find out. Um, well, Karen, the whole thing with Verizon, it was all along the West Coast. When I looked at the map, it was the West Coast and Texas. That was it. And I haven't been able to get a hold of William today. And yesterday he was having issues with his phone. Do you remember last night's show? Right in the middle of it, we started having issues. So hopefully his little puppy gets her gravy today and William could get on. Um, and my allergies are way better today, and then I cough. Um, we have got rain. Uh, we are looking at, when I look at our streets, we're flooded. We probably got about 2 inches so far, but I love it, and it's soaking in as quick as it rains. And so we're going to go off to the weather report with Ari. Karen, you're in here just in time for Ari. And he did this report this morning and letting us know that there has been a heat wave and a pressure that's been stalled in the southern United States. Now we have the cold front that's moving down finally. I mean, I had my AC on last night. It was 85 in the house. It was 80 outside, 81, and I, we're flipping it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I don't want to be super cold, but we're dropping into the 40s and 50s at night and 80s in the day. So I just kind of turned it off and toughed it out. But last night when it was 85 in the house, I tend to put the AC back on. Now I'm freezing because I refuse to put the heater back on. All right. So Ari's got a funny look on his face to start off. Yeah. Is he a deer in the headlights?
Friends in the south, I know it's been a long time since we've had any rain, but check out what's on the map. Yes, that is a frontal system that has some moisture with it, and we're going to see at least some rain over the next couple of days, okay? It's not going to be a tremendous amount, and we're not expecting any severe weather or anything like that, but Something is better than nothing as far as just the rain goes in general, because we've actually developed a pretty significant drought situation, which I'm going to show you in just a second. But you can see the nature of the rain on the forecast model. It's kind of spotty, on and off showers here and there, not tremendously heavy rain. The farther toward the west you live, the heavier rain you'll see places like Houston and just east of there. But if you're wondering how long it's been since we've seen measurable rain, for Atlanta, 19 days, and for Tallahassee, 27 days. So anywhere from like 15 to 30 days in parts of the south and the southeast where it's been dry. So here is how much rain we're expecting, about a half an inch to an inch in general. As I mentioned, not a huge amount of rain, but some higher totals as you get farther toward the west.
Boy, I tell you, I'm ready for the rain, ready for the snow, the sleet, the hail. Come get me, snow. And they say that with El Nino that the South could get more snow than normal. I remember in the 80s we'd get 2 to 3 foot, and within days it'd all be gone. In fact, I got snowed in the I'm gonna say late 90s. I got snowed in up north, and we lost power. We lost there was no gas, no propane, no water, and I had to move to Conway, where Conway had all the facilities. So it's not abnormal for us to get a couple feet of snow. I'm ready to dig. I'm ready to dig, Karen. I don't know about you. We haven't had real good snow in about 10 years, so I'm ready to dig. Yep, I got my shovel. In fact, I went out and got another shovel. I got 2 shovels ready. Sand, salt, I got it. I'm ready. Farmer's Almanac says I'm going to get tons of snow in the south. Or is it going to pass us by, or are we going to get the snow? All right, I'm going to move on because I know you guys want to know about the earthquakes. Yeah. We had 43 earthquakes. And oddly enough, like I said, um, it got quiet over in the Middle East, but we had a lone one in Syria, 4.6. Now, the bigger ones, now we've seen a good sized one in Peru, a 5.1. And then they had a chain of them, a 4.5 in Chile, a 4.4, and a 4.3. Off on the islands, little itty bitty ones in Puerto Rico. And then over in Guatemala, 4.4. What about the United States? Very quiet. I'm ready for something to hit up around Oklahoma, White City, New Mexico, a 3.3. And then we had one in Bridgeport, of all places. Now, it was about 6 miles deep. So I don't even think they felt that one. And then if we go up to Iceland, 4.5, we're seeing 4s and 5s again. Okay, so what about where the activity is from yesterday? We have Tonga with a 4.9. We had Vanuatu 5.1. Vanuatu has an active earthquake forever. Then we've seen in Papua New Guinea 5.4. Indonesia 5.1. And then, then we go up to Japan, 4.4. Another one, 4.4. It was 4.4s yesterday. Karen, you missed yesterday. But we have 4.4, 4.4, 4.4. And we're seeing it again. And then, of course, 4.9 in the Kuril Islands. Alaska, very quiet with 2.8. We had a 3.2, very quiet, very, very quiet. So I want to say the biggest one over in Peru at a 5.1. I think we're in a lull, except for the fact that we have activity in Yosemite and Mount St. Helens, which are not reporting. So we're watching I don't even think I posted that. Oh well. Watching Iceland's peninsula for volcanic activity. And with the earthquake starting up there, let me see. We're going to throw that up there. All right, here we go.
Scientists are watching the Reykjanes Peninsula in Iceland for potential new volcanic eruptions. Now, over the past few years, we have seen some very visitor friendly eruptions in Iceland, but this one is expected to be different. The area of uplift that we're watching is just to the west of the largest tourist attraction in Iceland, the Blue Lagoon. Also located close to that, which is actually a natural hot spring and spa, is a geothermal plant. And just to the south of that is the fishing town of Grindavik, which has about 2,000 people. Now, the problem here is that this eruption, if it occurs, could bring very fluid lava. And because it's so close to populated areas, we could see lava impacting those areas within minutes. Some scientists estimate as little as 3 minutes. So that would make evacuation a problem. We're certainly going to have to watch this. Right now, it looks like an eruption is very likely. I wouldn't say imminent, but we're certainly going to have to watch this over the next few days.
See, it's all volcanic right now. Not necessarily what we're seeing with earthquakes, but the volcanoes are becoming very, very active. And even like they said, Mount St. Helens records more than 400 earthquakes since mid-July, but no signs of eruption. And the uh, the crater that blew there, it's rising, but now they're starting to see a lot of earthquakes there, and but no signs of volcanic activity. And the same thing with Yellowstone. They've had close to 300. Now, I told you earlier 300, 400, 500 since July, but they keep changing the numbers, USGS. Um, and so we're seeing the same thing with Mount St. Helens as we are if we go straight across. We are seeing the same thing in Yellowstone. Uh, and then we have this Iceland. If you draw a line, it kind of all lines up. And Iceland says they're looking at maybe a volcanic eruption, which will go first. And then if you draw a line over to um, the islands around Alaska, same thing, same thing. So, are we going to have a big eruption or is it going to be a big earthquake? And if we have a big earthquake, then it settles the volcanoes down. If we have an eruption, it settles the earthquakes down. So, we'll just have to wait and see. But all in all, they said only 43 earthquakes and three possibilities of eruptions. Um, so let's talk about this bear. A bear in a tiny cage, alone at Bile Farm for 20 years, is finally free after her rescue. Um, this happened on October 17th, and it was somebody that happened to see it, a good Samaritan. The bear lived in a tiny cage at Bear Bile Farm in Vietnam and Ho Chi Minh City. And, we know Ho Chi Minh City from the war. But rescuers from World Animal Protection talked to the bear's owners and convinced them to surrender Na, whose name means custard apple. Custard apple. They've had the cage, in this bear in the cage because they didn't trust the bear enough to let it out. So the bear, we put our dog in cages, and it's enough for them to kind of move around, turn around, and maybe eat or drink and lay down. That's about what this bear had for 20 years. Never seen grass, never seen the outside. So the World Animal Protection works with Vietnam's Forest Protection Department on monitoring the program that seeks out bears who used to be a part of the bear bile industry of Vietnam. The country banned bear bile farming keeping the bears captive to remove their, they said, for medical purposes. This was in 2005, they claimed. They were keeping them for medical purposes. And they didn't have the records to prove this, but allowed farmers to keep the bears anyway. Um, I got to show you a picture of this little guy right there. Yep. Yeah, well, I'm going to keep him up there for a little bit. And the World Animal Protection and Four Paws pooled resources to execute the rescue and transport of Na. Na. What a name, Custard Apple. Really? Why not just, and this bear's old. This bear is old, 20 years old or more. We're thrilled that Na will finally be free after suffering for so long, for more than 20 years. She was unable to feel the sun on her back, breathe fresh air, or explore like all bears should, even grass. Simple grass, they say. The World Animal Protection continues to work with tirelessly with partners to ensure more bears like Na released to sanctuaries or zoos to where they could see the grass, and sometimes they just set them free. If they're able to take care of themselves and hunt for food and be able to protect themselves, they do set them free. Na, unfortunately, um, Na's struggles are not entirely over. The bear arrived at the sanctuary in poor health, with broken and infected teeth, eye issues, fur loss, heart disease, and degenerative bone disease. Four Paws Sanctuary is working to help Na recover and enjoy what is left of her life. How sad, poor bear. Yeah, I agree, Susan. Poor bear. Susan, you feeling better? All right, so we have a tiny island. Tiny island forms after undersea volcano erupts off the coast of Japan. And then the undersea erupted off Japan 3 weeks ago, providing a rare view of the birth of a tiny island. But experts say it may not last for very long. Isn't that what's going on in Hawaii? Hawaii is more of islands by earthquakes that have risen from the sea. And of course, it's full of volcanoes. The unnamed undersea volcanic, but located about a half mile off the southern coast of Tujima, which Japan calls Loto, and it started its series of eruption on October 21st. Within 10 days, volcanic ash rocks piled up on the shallow seabed, a tip rising above sea surface. And this was by early November. It became a new island about 320 feet in diameter, as high as 66 feet above the sea. And according to Yuji Osu, an analysis in the Japan Meteorological Agency Volcanic Division. Now, with the volcanic activity and earthquakes that has been happening over in Hawaii, we've seen it. We talk about it, twos and threes and twos and threes and ones and twos and threes, and it goes and goes and goes off Japan. And this newly formed island has somewhat shrunk a little bit because of crumbling. So experts are looking at this island. And we just recently put an island off the coast of Japan, and we put an air base on it. What we see is Japan going to use it? Is China going to use it? Or are we going to snag it up, with Hawaii and say that the island should be preserved. That's what they're looking at right now. All right, so Texas chemical plant explosion, and it forced school evacuations and shelter in place. Now, what I have heard um, is officials in rural Texas have begun to release details about what led to the Fury explosion at a chemical plant after lifting the shelter in place order. Um, Officials in San Jacinto County said preliminary investigations found the ignition happened when an employee noticed a container leaking with chemicals and tried to use a forklift to lift the container. Within minutes, it was ablaze. Um, so I do have a video on this. Let me see. So I'm going to throw this up there and let you guys see, because you would not believe the clouds of smoke that rose from this, and that's all chemicals. Let me throw this up there. Look at that. That's all chemicals that's pumped into the air that will, depending on which way the wind blows, all of the cities beyond that, I'm going to say for hundreds of miles, is going to be affected by this chemical explosion. All right, I'm going to get on and get this going.
A massive fire Wednesday at a chemical plant in southeast Texas sent flames and thick black smoke shooting into the air. Here's a closer look at just how intense this was. A shelter-in-place order was issued for people within a 1-mile radius of the plant, which is in Shepherd, Texas, about 55 miles from Houston. Gusty winds at the time were blowing at about 10 to 15 miles per hour towards the northeast. You can see the smoke here on satellite, where the dark black plume starts to grow and spread. At least 2 schools in the area were evacuated. The fire was first reported around 8 a.m. and was contained a few hours later. One person, an employee at the plant, was being treated at a hospital for minor burns. Details were still emerging on what caused the fire and whether it posed any health threats for local residents.
Wow. Look how big that is. Can you imagine the health risks for whichever way the wind blows? And they don't do that. They want to do just that town. And that's one of the reasons why I'm big on ecology, because if it falls into the rivers, it'll get into the air, it gets into your houses. And of course, I suggest anybody near these fires, after the smoke has gone away, change your filters. Change your filters, because you're only rebreathing everything that was put into the air. That's why it's so important that you change filters monthly, folks. Some people do it twice a month. Take a look at it. If it looks dirty or clogged, change it, because it's only pumping what's in that filter. And if you got what you think are chemtrails or anything being pumped into your skies, or what about pollen? Pollen, it could give you allergies if you don't change your filters. If you live in an apartment, don't trust your maintenance to come in there and change them. Do it. They're only going to come in once or twice or once a year. No, keep an eye on it, because you wouldn't believe how much better you can breathe if you keep those filters changed. Uh, I don't want to harp on you guys about this. No. So a chainsaw welding thieves. What were they after? Mediterranean's century-old trees, of the olive trees. They wanted the olive oils, but many thieves went in with chainsaws. And it wasn't just the fact that they got the olives out of the tree. No, they just cut the trees. And this is very concerning. And the owner couldn't believe of the thieves that came in with chainsaws just for olive oil or olives. Wow. So here we go.
Spent generations protecting their olive groves from severe weather, pests, and wild animals. Now they're battling a new problem: thieves armed with chainsaws. Olive oil prices have skyrocketed after 2 years of drought in the region's decimated harvests. Industry prices for extra virgin olive oil have nearly tripled since 2019 to about $4.35 per pound. Greek consumers that were paying $9 for a liter of extra virgin olive oil last year, well, they are now paying around $15. And the bad guys, they want a piece of the action. In
Mm-hmm.
Greece, Spain, and Italy, where groves were once flush with juicy olives, thieves are now taking chainsaws to the branches with the most olives, or in some cases, the entire tree. Farmers in Greece are asking for a defunct rural police division to be reinstated, and a Spanish company developed tracking, well, that looks like olives. For now, growers are left to patrol their own fields at night to protect their land, their olives, and their livelihood. And just so you know, an olive tree can take 4 to 5 years to recover after its branches have been cut.
Wow, 4 to 5 years. So after these thieves take these, it's going to take them a while. And how many trees do they take? Many, at least a dozen. So you know they're coming in with trucks and chainsaws, and they take the trees, and it's harming. And what it does is it raises the cost of olive oil because the lack of olives and the amount of time it takes to regrow. That's what they were saying in the comments on that. Um, American species blown to the UK by hurricanes, uh, specifically Hurricane Lee. Now, and when I looked at this, I said that's how alligators get in Arkansas. That's how some of the species of wildlife, pythons and other snakes, get into other um, states here in our country. It's how we get bugs that shouldn't be here or birds shouldn't be here. And now the species of birds have now showed up in through a hurricane. They got blown into the UK and they lived through it. So this is why, and why I wanted to bring this up due to um, we have alligators. When Louisiana has really bad hurricanes, we get alligators up here, and we get pythons, and we get snakes that shouldn't be here. We get bugs, and the other thing is earthquakes. Let's say Africa. Africa had, I know I've done the story on it where they had locusts or grasshoppers that was so bad in Africa for many, many years. Well, the wind changed, the hurricanes started forming off the coast, and all of a sudden, now Egypt is complaining. They've got locusts and grasshoppers, and they said they are flying north. Is it when are we going to see a pandemic of locusts now that are eating at the farmers' crops? All right, so on this day, I know you guys want to know about this. November 9th, 1989, the Berlin Wall falls, marking Cold War victory by the U.S. Was it really a good thing? Everybody says yes, no. It depends on what side of the wall you're on. Was this the start of a protest of Europe? Was this the start of communism? Well, we never know. And as history writes it, it was a big deal for those in Germany when the Berlin Wall fell. Oh boy. So now this last one, last story here is the reindeer. And I'm big on Sweden because I love the Santa Claus and the Mrs. Claus up there in Sweden because they protect the reindeer. But they have been complaining for years. I've been watching them for about a decade, and it's so heartbreaking to hear the reindeer keep getting run over on the freeways. They have got a very fast speed limit with no signs, and hundreds of reindeer are killed by fast cars. Yeah, granted, it does screw up your car, it wrecks it, totals it. But Sweden has now decided that they're going to save the reindeer, and they have made a call to protect the reindeer in Sweden after 10,000 road deaths in 5 years. That's a lot. I don't even think we have that many deer. Now, we did start seeing an increase of deer and elk and moose and on our highways until we started putting up them signs. Now, I know I post funny ones uh, on the funny post that I do on the weekends, but we gotta save the reindeer. And why did it take Sweden so long to now decide they got to uh, slow the speed limit down in reindeer crossing areas, and not only that, put in signs? I'm glad they did it. I'm glad they did it. And um, Parliament says the action required, including lowering speed limits and more fences to be able to keep them in. And even Santa Claus has decided that if they round up a few, they could be there with Santa Claus in Sweden. Oh, what a great story. So we're down to the funny post, signs of the time. When is it the signs of the time? Or is it just a woke thing? Are we seeing new things that we don't understand as old people? Or is the younger people don't understand the old ways? Apartment building sign. No baby carriages or foreign cars allowed in the lobby. Bar sign. Lunch now being poured. A Chinese laundry sign. We don't tear up your clothes with clumsy machinery. We do it carefully by hand. Church sign. You must pay pay for your sins. If you've already paid, you can ignore the notice. Wow, what a church sign. Miss Piggy. Never eat more than you can lift. Yeah. A newspaper headline. Country officials talk rubbish. A plumber sign. Do it yourself, then call us before it's too late. A psychiatrist advertisement. A cure guaranteed, or your mania is back. Oh, that's scary. Restaurant dinner sign. Everything comes to him who orders hash. Restaurant sign. Our tongue sandwiches speak for themselves. Scottish golf course sign. Members will refrain from packing up lost balls until they have stopped rolling. I had to read that a few times. I never did get it. A teamwork sign. Only dead fish swim with the stream. I liked mine way better, Karen. There's no fishing in uh, in Ellie shows. There's no fish. There's no. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. There is no crying in fishing. Yep, no, or in Ellie shows. I did that for my grandkids, and the look they had on their face, and they quit crying. It worked, you know. So, teamwork. Only dead fish swim with the stream. A truck sign. Pass with care. I chew tobacco. Orthopedic surgeon sign. Never accept a drink from a urologist. Taxidermy sign. If called by a panther, don't enter. Okay. All right, that is it. Tomorrow is trivia. It's Thursday. We're already to the end of the week, and we have weather and lifestyle news tomorrow, and then we have trivia. Tell your friends and family about our show and bring them on in and have a little bit of fun with some trivia tomorrow night. If not, tell them about the weather and lifestyle news where no politics. And if you want the politics, come on back in about 30 minutes. So with that, folks, We will see you tomorrow. If not, come on back for news. I have got a really big show coming up on Palestinians. The truth. The truth. That's all I'm going to say. So subscribe, hit the like button, throw your thumbs up button up there, and tell your friends. And you know what? Next time you're out and about, tell strangers about Weather and Lifestyle News Show. So have a great Thursday, and I've lost my cursor. All right. I can't click on stuff to go away if I can't find it. All right. So have a wonderful Thursday, and God bless.